today. This is our 20-minute reboot for parents. And Tonya and I have been working separately, offering some sanity tips for people, and we thought we would join forces and offer this short little 20-minute class. And one of the things that both of us are noticing is that parents are having a particularly difficult time responding to the challenges of quarantine and working from home and trying to support their children and doing their schooling from home. And Tonya is an amazing life coach and a best-selling author of her book, Stop Worrying About Your Anxious Child. And I'm a psychotherapist and author of my own best-selling book, Be Strong, Be Wise in the Age of Me Too. So both Tonya and I have a ton of ideas, and we want to just support you guys in offering some of those today. And I have the good fortune of introducing Tonya to you. She's going to talk first. So without any further ado, here is Tonya. She's going to talk about a couple of her tips. I'm going to talk about a couple of my tips, and then we have some really helpful information. So stay with us to the end, and we're going to offer some other forms of support to you guys at the end of our class. So here's my good friend Tonya to talk with you guys.
Thanks, Amy. So yeah, like Amy said, we both work in this area. We both support parents as part of our job, and we're friends. So as friends, we have been chatting about what are you seeing? What am I seeing? And as we were talking, that's sort of how this came together. We were like, we're both seeing a lot of the same things. And what we were seeing is this situation, the social distancing, the sudden change in how we all are having to manage our entire lives, really, our work, our school, dealing with our spouses who are also home. It has been challenging. It's been overwhelming. And I had a realization just last night when I was walking the dog that a lot of the emails I'm getting are saying things like, use this pause. And I realized last night as I was walking the dog that really annoys me, because this has not been a pause for most of us. It has been like more challenging than usual. We're doing more. We have less time. We've got more people at home. We've got more meals that we have to plan, all of this stuff that we're doing. So it's definitely not a pause. And what both Amy and I agreed when we were talking about it was people are going into kind of a fight, flight, or freeze mode is what we're seeing. People are getting truly panicked to the point where they are either, the fight is coming out with anger and lashing out and irritability with their kids, with their husband. The freeze, we're seeing people who are just like paralyzed. I don't know what to do, so I can't do anything. Obviously, the flight is, I'm just going to sit and watch Netflix and ignore everything for, 24 straight hours. And I actually have had clients who said, I'm sorry if I feel tired because I was up till 4 watching Netflix this morning. So we're seeing all of it. And if you're feeling any of this, I just share that because it's normal, it's common, you're not alone. Everybody's feeling this and doing these same things. So we just wanted to share a couple of quick things that can help. And they're super quick and easy. We both wrote whole books, so we could go on and on, but we wanted to be really focused today and give you just some quick things. So the first quick thing that I'm saying to my clients when they tell me, I've been up till 4 watching Netflix is, and this is so cliche, I tell my daughter, because I have an anxious child, that's how I wrote my book, and she is totally against this too. So if your first reaction as I say these words is, oh no, again, common, I hear it all the time, but just bear with me. You need to breathe. I know it's a cliche. I know we don't like to, it just sounds like, oh yeah, breathe. The reason people think breathing doesn't work is because they actually don't do it. But when you take those long, slow, deep belly breaths in and out, It really does make a difference. And I'll tell you why. And I'm telling you this because it's super helpful to know, but also this is something to share with your kids, because a lot of my clients, the reason they're my clients is because they have anxious kids just like I do. So share this information with your kid and it'll make your child a little more open to trying it too. But basically what happens in our bodies when we aren't breathing or we're taking slow, shallow breaths is we're sending a message. Our brain is freaking out. It's saying, you need to panic. You need to prepare to fight, fly, run away, or freeze, hide somewhere. That's what's going on in our bodies. Our brain is sending all these chemical messages to the rest of our body. So we start taking quick, shallow breaths to get ready to run or do whatever we need to do. But we also have a feedback mechanism that goes from our lungs back to our brain. And so when you take those slow, deep, long breaths, and I recommend counting while you're taking those breaths, you are sending the message back to your freaking out, panicked brain that is sending out all kinds of neurotransmitters to say, I'm getting lots of oxygen. I'm okay. I don't need to freeze. And you're slowing down the process, which allows your brain to then see opportunities and options that it cannot see when it's in this flight, fight, or freeze mode. So that's the first most important thing to do when you find you're just having those quick, shallow breaths and you're freaking out a little bit, that we all are doing. There's no shame in saying it, but we all are feeling that way. So take the breath. Take 5 breaths. Count to 5 as you breathe in. Count to 5 as you breathe out. Now notice. This is tip number 2. Just notice what you're feeling in your body. All of us have a place in our body where we carry our stress. Could be your chest, tightness in the chest, could be shoulders. A lot of us find our shoulders coming up and up and up, higher, closer to our ears. And you just have to remind yourself, drop those shoulders. We feel it in our eyebrows right here. We tighten our jaw. We don't even notice that. That's one of those places that until you check in with yourself, you don't notice how tight your jaw is or that you're kind of doing your eyebrows. So just notice what's happening with your body and then get curious about it. This isn't about trying to change anything. It's not trying to resist these feelings because they're natural. And what we do tend to do instead of noticing is we tend to distract ourselves with Netflix, with food, with whatever we can come across. And instead of distracting ourselves, there's some real power in noticing what's going on. So find that where you're carrying those feelings, ask yourself some questions. How big is it? Where does it start? Where does it stop? If it were a color, what color would it be? If it had a texture, would it be smooth? Would it be bumpy? Would it be spiky? And these are great questions to ask your kids when they're feeling panic. This helps them. This helps them get out of that lizard brain, that brain that says you need to fight, flight, or freeze. And it gets you back into your body and helps start calming the parasympathetic nervous system. So breathe, notice what's going on. You don't need to change anything. If we notice our feelings and just pay attention to them, they tend to go through us and move the way they're supposed to do. It's the distraction that tends to cause us problems, or the avoiding. So those are my quick 2 tips. And now I want to turn it over to Amy so she has time to share hers, which I personally have learned a lot from, because we've done this once or twice to practice. And she didn't say all the awesome things that she does, but she is an amazing coach, helps people who've been through trauma. She helps educate our young people about avoiding sexual assaults. So she's got some amazing stuff, and I will not keep going on and on like I could and just turn it over to her.
Thank you so much, Tonya. And It's been really lovely to work with Tonya and to learn from her as well. And I even notice every time we've practiced and talked about these tips that we both came up with, that when Tonya talks about her tips, I just feel calm. I love watching her talk anyway, because she's so warm and friendly, and really cares about what she teaches. So I notice that even without going into the timing of the breath, just hearing her talk about it, I feel calm. So, and one of the things that both of us feel strongly about and we work with our clients on is this idea that what we resist persists. And Tonya spoke about that with her discussion of distractions and Netflix and the things that we all do to avoid feeling. But I love the way that she pointed out riding the feelings, or really noticing them, talking about them, and working with them. And I think that's something that both of us have done a lot with our clients, is, really encouraging people to feel it. Because when we don't feel it, or when we resist it, that's when the feelings grow. So, and this is definitely, I call it riding the surfboard. Like, the feelings are the tidal wave, and the tools that we develop that we're trying to offer today are like the surfboard that helps us ride the waves. And it's so empowering for our kids to get some of those tools now. So even though our kind of current crisis is causing us to have to look at things differently, it's also an invitation to empower ourselves in new ways and to work with our kids in new ways. So I love that Tonya talks about the lizard brain, or the limbic brain, that part of our, I call it the trauma brain. It's where we go into that fight or flight. And I want to kind of hinge on her talk and offer another tip that is also about kind of centering in the body, calming down the autonomic nervous system, and really empowering ourselves to deepen our self-knowledge. So I call it looking for your mirrors, and I've been talking about this a lot recently. But mirrors are the people, places, and things that remind us of who we are at the core. So a lot of people are, for example, talking about old family vacations, or taking out the family photo albums to be able to look at the places and the people that families have experienced with each other, that they can then talk about and remember funny stories along the way, remember funny anecdotes about each family member. So that is a form of mirroring. And, I equate it with even the small, tiny things that we don't think of as being mirrors. But in this time of quarantine, where our lives have become so constricted, we really need to find some of those more mundane or overlooked daily mirrors. And they could be, for example, here in Maine, where spring is very long in coming, we're just starting to see crocuses. And in my neck of the woods, when the crocuses come out, you literally can feel, and people will talk about it and take pictures of crocuses, and it's kind of like the community mirror. But it also, of course, is a personal mirror as well. So there are probably aspects of nature, or even certain places in your home, certain places where you might like to sit more than others, certain places in your daily walks outside that have become like mirrors. When you look at that particular stretch of trees, or that particular corner where maybe you've been driving by every day, but now you're kind of stopping on your walks and just noticing things differently, to really claim those places as mirrors that can help to remind you of the stability of your own life, and the people, places, and things that are kind of your cornerstone, your foundation. So the other kind of secondary tip that also has to do with mirrors is about our personal gifts. And I really, I think that this is such an opportune time, and both Tonya and I are talking about how to take the challenge and just tweak it a little bit to make it more workable for you and your kids. And another aspect of mirroring is to be able to really lay claim to the personal gifts that you possess and that every person in your family possesses. And this is certainly true of our children. So I'll give an example, and this is from a client of mine. So she has a daughter that is super socially gregarious and just would be out and about with her friends every hour of the day if she could. And so, of course, her daughter is having a particularly hard time with the social distancing. So what they've done as a family is they've had conversations about how do you take that gift, right? Her social acumen is a gift, right? How does she take that gift and use it to sustain her in this time of being more isolated? So she's taken to writing personal little love letters to her friends and popping them in the mail, or doing particular, inspiring quotes on her social media page. She's organized online games with her friends. And all of it is a way of taking her social self and supporting her friendships within that. So I think it's an opportunity for all of us to talk amongst ourselves as family members and really look at what are the gifts that everybody's bringing to the table, that even if they cannot be used fully right now, there's still a way. I always believe there's a way through every block. So even if it feels like we're stuck at home, how can we even use these gifts? Think about it and get creative as a family and having discussions like this to see what could work and how you could look at it differently. So I hope that this is helpful, and it's been really fun for Tonya and I to work together in supporting parents right now to just drop out of the anxious brain and into our bodies, into our family systems in new ways so that we can support each other. And we both hope this has been helpful. So Tanya's
Yeah.
going to pass on a couple of last minute information for you guys. And thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really fun.
Yes, it has been awesome. I hope if you're watching, that you take one thing away. Even you don't have to do all of it, just take one of them, give it a try, see how it works. And as we said, we do this all the time. We wrote books about similar topics, so we could go on and on and on, but we wanted to be very careful and keep this really short because we know nobody has time for a long, drawn out webinar on tips. But because we had such a tough time narrowing down exactly which things to share, we both kept a few extra tips that we still want to give to you, and we don't have time to do it in this short webinar, but we wrote them down. So Amy and I both created tip sheets. They're one page. We kept it short still because we know you don't have time, but they are a couple different things that we didn't share today that we still would love to give to you. So if you are interested in those tip sheets, here is our contact information. Sorry, I'm going to make that bigger. And we would love to hear from you. Just send us an email at amycarter458@gmail.com or Tonya@guidanceforthefuture.com. Just drop us a quick email and we would love to send you our tip sheets. Or if you have questions, or if you want to know more about our books or get copies of our books, any of that, but just reach out. We would love to hear from you. And obviously, if you try any of the tips and have any thoughts, questions, or suggestions, we'd love to hear that too. So this is how to reach us. This is where you can find us. And thanks again for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.